Okay. Well, we have a big raven here. So I'm going to just go ahead and dive into this. It's actually really cool. A lot of connections here. This is from Lady Abigail of House Spears, Dame of Dorne. Okay. She says, I hope this note finds you in good health, sirs. I am Lady Abigail of House Spears, the Dame of Dorne. She says, I recently became a patron after listening to the podcast off and on for about the past 2 years, and have started my own personal deep dive into a reread of the books and of all accompanying wikis and maps. My family hails from a humble keep in the Riverland, and that is where I was raised and met my dear husband. However, last year, he was granted a lordship and a castle in Dorne, so we have brought our direwolf, 2 shadow cats, and 2 wildlings to our new Dornish abode. AKA, I'm from Central Illinois, and we just moved to San Antonio, Texas, for a shop. I feel like everybody's moving to Texas.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that,
it's
they are right.
Yeah. It says, this Raven is not so much one particular theory, but more of a broad scope of the main characters. I got a bit obsessed with the particular choice of the first names of the main POV characters. My thought was, if I was Gurm, the POV characters would feel a bit like my children, and naming my children took a ton of research and careful consideration. So naturally, I took all of my favorite characters and looked up their names on several baby name databases to find the meaning of each one, and I found some very interesting information. It says Sansa is Romanian for luck, fortune, chance, and charm. How fitting for a character who has to rely on the eloquent graces and charm she was taught as a child to avoid imprisonment, torture, and death at the hands of her betrothed and his mother. She also has a bit of luck and good fortune when she was willing to take a chance to trust Ser Dantas. Sansa has always been my favorite character because of her arc. Her arc reminds me the most of myself. We've already seen her use her courtly etiquette and charm to win over many of the Knights of the Vale. Here's hoping she continues to do the same and stumbles across more good fortune on her quest back to Winterfell in the Winds of Winter. Arya is Italian, and the literal translation is air, but is more commonly used to describe a solo melody, like in an opera. This is the one that made my jaw drop. Arya is perhaps the most solo character in the entire series. Every person or group or people she starts to count on ends up dying or betraying or getting separated from her. Not to mention, she is always referencing how she does not want to get married or be a lady. She'd rather be alone. Plus, her direwolf is presumably out in the wild alone. The symbolism here is real. I can't wait to see her strike out on her own and start getting after people on her list in the Winds of Winter. Jon is Hebrew and means to be gracious. This is where I said, hold the phone. There's a few layers here. First of all, to be gracious means to be courteous and kind, which Jon has to be his whole childhood, even though he doesn't get included as a true-born child and doesn't get to sit at the high table for the feast. But secondly, if R plus L equals J is real, right? Then Jon is the heir to the Iron Throne, meaning he is the true king, and everybody should be calling him Your Grace. I think this almost proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that R plus L are his parents. But the question now is, what is he going to do with this information? I think he will graciously decline the Iron Throne and return north, perhaps getting all the wildlings to follow him up as king beyond the wall. Bran is Irish and Welsh for raven or crow. I think people have said that to us a handful of times, and dark birds in general. And there it is. Let that one sink in.
Yeah.
Proof that Gurm is a mastermind. There are about 1,000 symbols to discuss here, but I keep going back to the phrase that Catelyn uses, dark wings, dark words. And I cannot help but wonder what dark words Bran has in store for the realm. What will he learn from Bloodraven, and how will he use his knowledge? I don't necessarily think he will do anything but with malice and intent, but I think he will learn about the dark side of humanity and see some of the atrocities the first men committed against the children of the forest, and he will feel obligated to try and make up for those, which could have grave consequences and a rippling effect for the people who are currently living. Stark characters are clearly my favorite characters, but I looked up some more as well. These are just smaller, some snapshots. Tyrion is derived from the ancient city Tyre, the modern day Lebanon, where Tyrian purple dye was used to color fabric of a deep purple, also called royal purple. So there's that Tyrion Targaryen possibility.
Yeah.
Robb is Germanic, which means bright flame. Both Robb and Robert achieve flame in similar ways. Robb Stark and Robert Baratheon. Sandor is the Hungarian version of Alexander, which means defender of men. Drogo is Saxon for ghost and Slavic for precious and dear. He's not a POV, but is often referenced in Dany chapters, and he is all three of those things to her. Theon is Greek and means of the gods. Interesting that he is exposed to and asked to follow at least 3 sets of gods, the old, the new, and the drowned, and he forgets all of them when he becomes Reek. I had a harder time finding meaning for the lesser characters who aren't POV, and I think those characters probably don't feel as close to Gurm as do his POVs, and that's okay. Also, the entire Targaryen line of succession uses the letter Y in their letters or AE next to each other, and if it's tough to find real-world names to compare them to. I think he straight up invented the majority of their names and purposely had them all have similar lettings/spellings because they all wed brothers and sisters. I didn't dive into the last names because I think Gurm has proven time and time again that characters' last name is not always equal, right? Jon Snow, right, and potentially Jon or Aegon Targaryen, whatever they're going to go there, and then Joffrey, Baratheon / Lannister / should actually be what Stone or not Stone, but what is it? Whatever the bastard name is. Whatever the bastard name of the crown of the Lannister land is. The Westerlands. It's that one's the one I always forget.
Hill. Hill or
no, Hill is the Reach. It's something even more specific. I think first names are much more significant for him in his writing. So sorry for writing you guys a novel. If you stick with me this far, thank you so much. I can't wait to hear your thoughts. Please feel free to debunk any of my musings. Lady Abigail of House Spears, Dame of Dorne. First of all, thank you. That was an amazing Raven. Anytime people do some serious research, it's great. I know Bran has people kind of said that to us before. It's kind of Irish and Welsh, but a lot of these, I haven't really dived into. I really like the connections. That you made here. This is great. This is some great research into this.
Yeah, no, that was actually really good, and that's pretty awesome. The connection, your grace, right, for Jon and being gracious and leaving. I thought Sandor was interesting too. That he would be a defender of men, but even more so that he he roots for the quote underdog, and would be want to help kind of other people who who are less fortunate or whatever. So yeah, I mean I think that's really cool. That's really interesting. I mean Sansa, I also like Sansa, and I do she is using her charm to kind of win people over and stuff. So.
You were correct, by the way. Sorry, I was wrong.
Yeah,
Hill. Hill is the name of the Westerlands. It's Flowers. That's the name of the Reach. When I think of the Reach, I think Horn Hill, which is
I know.
That's where I get that.
Horn Hill too. There you go. Horn Hill and Sam has the horn. Think about that for a sec. No, I mean this is awesome. This is the thing. I could be wrong about this. I was watching this somewhere, whether it was it was another podcast, another YouTuber, or it might have been on Reddit. But Martell, Doran Martell, I think his name, and I could be totally wrong. I think it represents or symbolizes death. Could be wrong, but it feels like he's watching everyone around him die. And he's watching his family members die, and that he actually may be even the last one who does die, like Arianne Martell might die. Trystane has died, or not Trystane. Quentin, poor Quentin, has died in the show. Trystane does die. The Sand Snakes will do different things. So yeah, it's cool to kind of look at like how these different characters are named and what their name possibly could mean, because Matt and I have said for a long time, I think a lot of people agree with us and maybe have been saying it for years as well, which is the characters that are mentioned in that first book are significant. They are George's children, and he took put a great deal of thought in naming those characters, and their names have significance. 100%. Yeah. That was fantastic. That was a really great Raven. I'm very, Very happy we got that, and I would love to hear Lady Abigail. I'd love to hear more because it seems I guarantee you since she has sent that in to us, it's been a bit. It's been a little bit. So if you have anything else or other thoughts, we would love to hear from you. So it was well written.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, guys. Hey, remember, we are going to be doing a Zoom hangout for the patrons, Bannerman tier, and above this Friday. What time did we say? As 6 p.m. Pacific, which is 9 p.m. Eastern, and then a handful of times depending on what other time zone you happen to be in. Guys, thanks for listening. That's where we're at. So with that, we want to thank you for playing the Game of Thrones. In our next episode, we will be discussing Chapter 41, Tyrion 9 of A Clash of Kings.
Absolutely. If you like our podcast, don't forget to subscribe, like us, write a review, leave a comment, or send us a raven at btkcast@gmail.com.
We will see you in a week, and remember that winter is coming.